Just a little bit about me to begin with. I work for a company called Radical Travel in Edinburgh, which isn't a hotel, so a different part of the industry than many of you work in or have experience of. We're a tour operator, so we do coach tours of the Highlands with a brand in Scotland called Haggis Adventures. Started off as Haggis Backpackers, and my job was a guide when I first started. Had no intention of getting into tourism. Had the best job in the world, where I got to take young 20 to 30-year-old Aussies, Kiwis, Americans, Canadians around the Highlands, tell them bullshit stories, enjoy the Highlands with them, take them on walks, and got paid to do it. Ideal. Needed to get a kind of proper job, moved into the office and worked in sort of sales and business development, and then got encouraged by my boss to apply for the scholarship. So it was a bit intimidating, to be honest, when I went off to Switzerland. I won a scholarship to Lausanne for the Leadership for Managers course that they run there. And it was really intimidating being beside lots of people who are working for really successful companies and who are excellent in the field that they work in. So to begin with, it was a bit awe-inspiring, sort of being beside these people and thinking, do I really belong here? So that was a bit nerve-wracking to begin with. And Switzerland was amazing. It was my first time there, and I'd heard all these stories about the Swiss and how they're so their attention to the sort of time and timekeeping is so important to them. And we arrived, got on the train, and it said the train would leave at 1:34, and we were all there, 1:30, watching our watches. Sure enough, as it clicked 1:34, off it went. And we just came through here from Edinburgh, and we certainly didn't have the same experience. So we've got a bit of a way to go to catch up with them. What I learnt from my scholarship in the 4 days that we were over there, it can probably be best split into 3 different levels. First of all, on a personal level, the key sort of learning for us was the difference between what makes a good leader and what makes a good manager, and that most people aren't necessarily good at both. So the key for me was looking introspectively and analytically at myself and saying, actually, what are my key strengths? What am I good at? What am I not good at? And I was able to come back, talk to my boss, convince him that the things that I wasn't good at wasn't necessarily a bad thing, and just to restructure the business slightly so that I could play to my strengths and have a manager put in place who was much better at the systems and procedures and processes and let me kind of get on with the leading bit and the inspiring bit and the motivating bit. And that's kind of been one of the key things I took back to my own company. On a national level or a kind of competitive level, I was able to look at my own business or the business that I worked in and compare it to other businesses in Scotland who were doing similar things, who worked in industry. So it was a bit like a sort of benchmarking opportunity, seeing things that they were good at that maybe we could learn from, and actually learning the things that we're quite good at that, and these guys have maybe got a bit of a ways to go. So it was a good way of doing a bit of a SWOT analysis of our own company. But then the bigger picture stuff, which is probably the most important, and I was able to look at Scotland and Scottish tourism in comparison to other international destinations so that we compete with on a global level. And that we've got some ways to go with some countries and be able to match the offering that they have. But we have other stuff that they don't have, which we could really make. I'll give you some examples of that in a minute. But it's undoubtedly the case that there are some fantastic tourism and hospitality businesses in Scotland. The problem that we have is that there are a heck of a lot of terrible ones. And the good ones have to be 10 times better than the bad ones in order to sort of bring everything up. And the other key difference that I noticed from other countries is their image of hospitality and tourism as a career. They were proud to work in hospitality and they were proud to work in tourism. And the attitude that I've experienced here in Scotland is that it's not a very sexy industry to work in. And it's maybe seen as a stopgap for many people. And what I came back with was a real sense of pride and a motivation to work and have a career in tourism, which I hadn't studied at before, and to sort of help with the other people around me, help bring Scotland up to compete with these other countries. And the best analogy that I can use is one from sport. Hands up anybody that likes sport? And more specifically golf. Hands up anybody who plays golf? Quite a few of you. One thing that I've kind of noticed when I play golf, which I've never been able to explain, is that when I play golf with other people who are really bad, my game becomes much worse. And it's probably the same in lots of other sports. When I play golf with people who are really good, it's quite intimidating. But bizarrely, my game tends to get a lot better. And that whole nerve of standing on the first tee, if you see two people just cream it off the first tee and it goes right down the middle of the fairway, it's the most nervous feeling in the world when you're next up and you're standing there thinking, oh no, I did this last week and it went 3 feet in front of me. And 9 times out of 10 I'll stand up if these guys have just hit really great drives, and I'll middle one right down after them and I'll sort of walk away thinking, that's fantastic. And it was kind of like that on this experience, in that I went away and was spending time with people who are fantastic in the field that they work in. And we met people who from lots of other countries, from Singapore, from Brazil, from Iraq, who have some quite challenging circumstances to work in hospitality, and also people from England. And they're fantastic at what they do. And what it did for me when I came back was it inspired me, not just within my job, to be much better at what I do, but to help my company be much better at what we do. And collectively, we were all there, I guess, when we came back, working together to try and help Scotland and Scottish tourism and hospitality become much better collectively at what we do. And if we all do that, then everybody wins. So that was what I learnt, and hopefully it was just the start of a long kind of learning process and career in the hospitality and tourism industry.